One of the biggest lies ever told on the internet is that you can't get non-Unova Pokemon in a playthrough of Pokemon Black and White. The second biggest is that a billion lions would win. The internet's use was rapidly expanding around the start of Pokemon's 5th generation, and in order to get with the times, Nintendo launched the Dream World. After beating the first gym, you would send a Pokemon of choice to the internet, where it surely wouldn't be irreparably changed for life, to return with rare items, and maybe even a Pokemon pulled from every generation. Among other things. I have no way to access the Dream World in modern day as far as I'm aware, so just like every other Dream World encounter in this run, the first one will be randomized. Out the gate, 2 of the 8 Dream Worlds are unavailable, but that's okay, because I'm eyeing down one particular location to start. As many of you know, the Striaton City Gym changes based on the starter that you pick, but given the randomness of the Dream World's encounter pool, how could I play around that? If I end up with a Pokemon weak to the Ace Elemental Monkey, the run's just dead. Well, the very first location, Pleasant Forest, has an affinity to grass-typed Pokemon, with a couple of exceptions. So as long as I choose Tepig to make Cress my first gym leader, and roll anything but Ponyta, we should be fine. And I've gotta say, I love Lotad as a Pokemon, but its hidden ability, Own Tempo, really is the worst of the 3, and I would have much rather got the Egg move Leech Seed, or the Dream World move Water Pulse. But look at that face! I can't let her down! Though she is but a six-legged platypus, Hope just barely has the power to take on and defeat every single rival battle before the gym, which promptly leads her to evolve, as Hope is one of the very few Pokemon who can do so in this level split. Yeah, I'd like to see Kangaskhan try that. And while she's only a little stronger than a Stage 1 starter, her kit helps her blast past those numerical restraints. Hope's learned Nature Power, which always turns into Tri-Attack inside buildings, and because Cress's Lillipup uses Work Up, he gets burned, singed, and or zapped before even landing damage. Since he's bulkier, Pampor's best bet would be to stack up workups, but he just relies on Water Gun for some reason. I'm really confused because that move wasn't reliable at all. Within our many mandatory fights, I'm quickly noticing how easy it is to level up Hope. Sure, the Dream World is fully available now, but I'm only obtaining an encounter for every gym's city. Hope was the exception because I needed to play the game. All of the trainers, rivals, and Team Plasmas are pretty worrisome. Even in spite of all those battles, I'm happy to announce that Hope didn't overlevel. And while I'm tempted to grind out the Dust Clouds and find a Water Stone to evolve her further, I still think it's in my best interest to hold off and rely on the next encounter. With Herdier and Watchog lying dormant within Lenora's repertoire, I need a bulky Dreamboat that maybe even resists normal moves. I'm torn between the locations Rugged Mountain and Icy Cave, but ironically, Icy Cave has more Pokemon that fit that bill. Rock types. And after the randomization, the Pokemon of my dreams is... Wait, what is that? Oh! I mean, actually there were better options, but Lunatone isn't bad. Sure, they got the less interesting Confusion as their dream move, and maybe they're weak to Bite and Crunch, but... Plus special attack nature, baby! In all actuality, I'm really hoping Lenora doesn't spam Bite or Crunch. From my experience, her AI doesn't work quite like that, so we may get some leeway, but I'm not sure if Vision has enough firepower to minimize the amount of her decisions. That's why I'm so glad we're able to outspeed and set up Harden before anything else. Even still, the Herdier's Bite is doing a lot, and Vision will need at least one more buff before doing damage. Our Citrus Berry that was found in the Dream World just barely activates afterwards, which is perfect. We've got the maximum amount of health in this position. Vision now goes on the offensive and fires off a Confusion that does just under half. Well, we can hope we just get a higher roll or a crit next turn? Lenora seems set on her super effective moves this time, so things aren't looking great. Vision keeps up the Slugfest to the best of their ability, but thanks to Lenora's Super Potion, their survival was just out of reach. Now, somehow, Hope needs to get us out of here. And right now, the only thing keeping me going is her namesake. Fortunately, even without reaching her final form, she's able to outspeed Herdier and take her out. Once Watchog enters, the reserves of my own Hope dwindle further. The AI loves their status moves, but the boosted Retaliate would be too tempting for even them. All I could do was watch as the normal type Ace fires off the Stab, powered up Retaliate on Hope. But she manages to survive? Even then, we don't have much of a chance to turn this around. Our damage is too little. So Tri-Attack lands the Para? Okay, I didn't think Hope had it in her, but if she does, then so do I. We now outspeed to take Watchog just below half. They power through the status to retaliate again, but its boost was a one-time thing, and Hope survives on 4. Unless we get a crit, this traffic cone will get another chance to attack. And a little hope went a long way, because they've gotten fully paralyzed. Lenore's out of potions, and my starter outspeeds and clutches up what should have been an insurmountable battle. With the Bug-type gym coming up, I don't know how we're gonna make it without my Rock-type. But at least I still have hope. If you like the video so far, then it would help me out a whole lot if you gave the video a like and a hype. I'm still a smaller creator, so breaking through the YouTube algorithm feels like a Sisyphean... How did I say that? And these things go a long way. Also, a lot of you keep returning but aren't subscribed? Kinda weird, just saying. Anyways, thank you. As per my rule set, I won't be able to get the next Dreamworld encounter until I reach Castilia City. That means little ol' Hope needs to break through the Pinwheel Forest on her lonesome. Unfortunately, to do this reliably means we'll have to commit to the Waterstone evolution, again, which I can get from Dust Clouds, even if it means foregoing a handful of reliable level up and reminder moves. Man, they hated Stone Evos back in the day. In part thanks to Nature Power turning into Seed Bomb with Grassy Fields, Hope pretty easily solos all of the trainers here, including the final grunt who just barely brought her past level 23. Perfect! Hope's still usable and we made it to the next city. Things aren't looking bad. Now I just need to decide on which Dreamworld to encounter in. And honestly, it wasn't a very difficult decision. Rugged Mountain is the only location that can consistently give me rock or fire types to handle Berg's bugs at this point. Sure, I'd prefer a fire type thanks to his Leavanny, but either way, this is my best shot. And... okay, I mean, I'm a firm believer that Hippowdon is a Sleepermon, and this one has the hidden ability Sand Force, so it won't have a Sandstream to hurt my own Pokemon. Really wish it wasn't Modest though. Well, it'll be an uphill battle, but Figment is fairly bulky, and with the boost from the Eviolite, he might be just what we need. Berg's Whirlipede is first up, and being a poison and bug type, it can't do anything to us. Getting poisoned from Poison Tail would be very bad, but the AI never fishes for it. It also helps that Figment has the capability of yawning too. Whirlipede enters a deep slumber as we go on the offensive to use Dig. It's a 3-hit kill, but that's okay because we could pretty safely bait the use of Berg's Hyper Potion. After that happens, we use Bite to cover that difference. Figment takes a little more damage along the way, but manages to finally take us to Pokemon number 2. Leavanny is a pretty believably large threat. Even with Razor Leaf being neutralized in effectiveness by our Grass typing, it's still their best damaging move for Hope. We've got another Citrus Berry to help keep Hope healthy, but it doesn't protect from crits! Oh my goodness. I don't know how we could even possibly clutch us up now, but no way. Ever since mid-Lenora fight, I've been going through the 5 stages of grief, but Hope is putting in otherworldly support. The para was exactly what we needed then, and the burn is exactly what we need now. We could continue doing damage, but I know we'll have to switch after this turn. In order to set up Figment, once Leavanny uses the now stronger Struggle Bug to leave Hope at 10, Hope lowers their attack with Growl. Figment returns, and the Eviolite coupled with all of the debuffs we've placed on the very fashionable Human Bug helps her remain in the yellow by the time she eliminates the ace. Berg still has Dwebble left, so we're not out yet. They're faster, with Feint Attack as their strongest move. Yawn helps out a lot, but being coupled with Dig means diminishing returns. The worst part is that Dwebble wakes up after our first Dig, but they're still put in the yellow. We just need one last bite to take them out, and Berg has a second Hyper Potion. I should have known that. Figment had already locked in his Dreamworld move Superpower, for show, but after the defense drop, we're even dead to non-crits. It's a random move now. We only have one shot at this, and there's a lot of damage rolls where things could go wrong. But we have no choice. Hope rejoins the fight as the opposing Pokemon's Feint Attack brings her to 6 HP. Without a Water-type move, such as the Water Pulse we could have gotten from the Dreamworld, Hope has no attacks that can one-shot Dwebble. But she does have a way to recover. Absorb isn't the best move, but we're still a 3rd stage versus a 1st, so Absorb heals us just enough to survive the following Smackdown. In retaliation, Hope uses Nature Power one last time as we've risked our final crit. Dwebble goes down, winning me my most fraudulent gym badge I've ever gotten. Cannot believe the run is still going. Aside from the couple rival battles that I have just enough coverage for, it's pretty much a straightforward shot to the next city. But more importantly, the next team member. With the ground-type Figment on the team, I'm feeling a little more than okay in our matchup for Elisa, but I'm almost certain we'll need another Mon to put in work. 2 Dreamworlds are locked behind certain gym badges, meaning of the 3 available locations, Spooky Manor is a pretty easy pick. The other 2 have a lot of water and grass-type possibilities, and I don't want to risk it. I'm not expecting a whole lot, but it looks like we've got... mean, it's pretty thematically appropriate, I guess. By this point of the game, properly EV training is becoming somewhat doable. Aspire the Drowsy comes in at level 10, and while I would much rather have him come with Drain Punch, him having this much wiggle room in EXP means that by the time he evolves into Hypno, we can max out his HP stat from grinding on Wild level 4 Audino. Aspire's gonna be a tank. I would bet real world money that no one has ever had this exact theme. During our travels, we've run into N a small handful of times, and each time it's resulted in a standard rival battle. But this time it seems like he's taken a liking to our vibes, and wants to go on the Nimbasa Ferris wheel. I'm the king of Team Plasma.
Who the starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
Not where I thought this was going, but on the bright side, while his team actually gave me a few scares, a few lucky crit dodges helped us leave the battle safe and sound. But something tells me I'm gonna have to pay more attention to him later on. On the other hand, I would very much like to avoid having to rely on RNG to get through these gym battles. I may be bright-eyed, but I know not to push my luck. As predicted, Figment guarantees great early battle positioning, because not only does his typing prohibit Elisa from utilizing her annoying Volt Switch strategy, but that also combos great with Yawn to guarantee sleep turns. Of course, an early crit from Aerial Ace kind of cancels out that advantage, but I still prefer them sleeping. The Rock Tomb TM enables us to force the use of both Hyper Potions right away, as the Emolga remains asleep just long enough for Figment to knock them out. If only we didn't miss. That's okay. Okay, so they may have woken up, but we could just try again and... Okay, well, I'm not risking it again. Aspire makes his proper debut, and is already putting those HP EVs to great use. We outspeed thanks to the earlier Rock Tombs, and take that chance to set up Reflect before knocking out the first Emolga. That added bulk is an amazing asset for Aspire, and while Elisa can finally use Volt Switch over and over, this results in decent damage on Zebstrika and another fainted Squirrel. By the time we're left with the strongest Mon, Reflect's worn off. Sure, Psycho Cut could crit, but it would be best to set up Reflect again. No matter what, we're dead to 2 sparks now anyways. Aspire is ever so lucky enough to dodge the crit and set up Reflect after all, which is just perfect because it enables Hope to once again clean up the fight. It was good timing too, because immediately after, Zebstrika plants a critical Volt Switch. Man, I'm good. Nature Power is more than strong enough to kill from this range, and the run remains alive. Woohoo! Again, it's more or less a straight shot to the next city. Sharon and I just need to team up and fight 2 preschoolers first. Sure was a valuable lesson. And south of Driftvale City, awaiting me is the TM for Scald. Hope finally gets a reliable stab move, and one of the best in the game to boot. Anyways, now that we have the 4th gym badge, another area opens up, being Windswept Sky. Since we're also halfway through the gym challenge, I figured that by now, we must have accumulated 5,000 dream points. In each dream world, the encounter pool opens up incrementally based on your dream points, maxing out at 10,000. Since I'm halfway through the gym challenge, I simulate being halfway there, which means Pokemon that require up to 5,000 points are included in the pool from now on. For the fun of it, and in hopes of getting a ground immunity, I stick to Windswept Sky, and I'm not gonna lie, besides the design, I'm having trouble coming up with some positives. I could have gotten mons like Gligar, Prankster Murkrow, Aerodactyl, but it will be a dragon type later on, and it actually gets some good setup moves. Thank goodness for the Eevee feathers showing up now, cause Cloud9 isn't as good as it sounds. Man, we didn't even get Feather Dance or Roost. Ugh. Hopefully this complaining ages poorly. On the bright side, while there aren't many places in this game where water types can thrive, and even less for grass, Clay is at least as counterable as I had imagined. With a little help from the Eevee feathers I've collected, Hope flawlessly sweeps the gym. If I was cartoonishly unlucky, Excadrill could have infinitely flinched us with Rock Slide, but as you can see, we're no Wile E. Coyote. At least at the moment. I really don't want to jinx it. And you know, the worst part about this is that since I got through Driftvale so quickly, I spent the least amount of time listening to the peak OST. I know, we're entering the territory of Gen 5 fans almost becoming as bad as Gen 1ers. I get it, get new material and all that, but man, what an OST. It's the same song and dance as we head to the next city for our next Dream World Mon and badge, but this time there's yet another battle against N. There's no leisurely Ferris wheel to use for exposition. This time he's actively blocking our way. Just like our team of dreams, N has his own dreams as well. The only difference being, his is to free the Pokemon. My Pokemon are the literal embodiments of my dreams, to varying degrees. Yet N's dream seems to be the antithesis of our whole journey. I don't think he's necessarily correct in dreaming that, especially since these Pokemon came to me in the dreams. And while this fight wasn't even as tough as the last one, it's becoming clearer to me that not every dream gets to make it. So early on, we lost our vision. Is it only a matter of time before we lose someone else? Millstriton City is another great checkpoint in our journey. Not only have we gained access to the move relearner, but also a small selection of TMs that I'll try not to overlook. As always, the next Dream World encounter awaits us, and again, the choice is pretty easy. Of the 2 currently available locations, one of them has a pool of Pokemon that'll be expanding after the battle against Skyla. Dream Park doesn't have a whole lot of Pokemon that'll be very helpful. The encounters are mostly Mons you would find in a petting zoo. But if I wait, I might just get a decent sweeper. Therefore, I'm fishing from the Pokemon Cafe Forest, the only promotional location here, and it only has 4 possible encounters. It looks like the mileage varies a lot between these 4, and the one we got is not Smeargle. That's a win. Getting the special Dream World exclusive move on Burmy of all things is largely a waste, but I mean, that's a bug steel type if I've ever seen one. Lastly, right before engaging in the next fight, both Figment and Goal evolve right as they hit the level cap. And putting my desire to be facetious aside, these are some pretty big buffs. As a result, these battles went largely how I expected. Figment, the new powerhouse, one-shot the Swoobat. Swanna took about everyone and their grandmother to take down, primarily due to some plentiful air slash flinches, and then Figment one-shot the Unpheasant. Normally I would go into more detail about the Swanna, but honestly, it was a pretty sluggish back and forth. You'd only really hear me whining like, "Oh, that didn't kill, what was that RNG?" And you know what, I think I'll just spare you the time. We're not the most offensive team, but we've got the bulk to outlast most Pokemon as of now. By the way, and if you could really speak to Pokemon, you'd probably know that Hippowdon has a name. LARP alert, haha, am I right guys? Haha. I like being a part of something. It's springtime, so sadly I can't skip all of Twist Mountain in today's run, but on the bright side, that means that Flash Cannon is accessible. Desire may not be the strongest, but that move should help close the gap a little bit. And finally, when we reach Icarus City, brother, that Ludicolo has a name, we can head on back to the Dream World and fill the last team slot. As of now, there's only 1 island available in Dream Park. And I really need a fast sweeper because, as it stands, this team might be too passive for the Elite Four. The correct answer would have been a Toxic Boost Zangoose. I'm gonna be real with you guys, I love Carnivine's vibes, but I've spent a long time looking at this guy on Bulbapedia to try to figure out its niche. Sadly though, that move pool is narrow, and that stat spread wouldn't have been good even in red and blue on the hit portable console, the Nintendo Game Boy. Of course, I'll try to include Illusion, who doesn't even get a hidden ability, but I can't promise he'll get any screen time. If he does, that might be a recession indicator. On the bright side, Desire is more or less a perfect counter to the Ice Gym. Fortress, Scizor, Excavalier, Mega Galissapod? Who needs them? Our Bagworm is in her bag and answers the guaranteed Frost Breath crit with a crit of her own to knock out Vanillish. Beartix stalls us for a second by confusing Desire with Swagger, and while he does the same to Aspire, he still clutches up by landing a Hypnosis through the confusion to open up the door for Desire to claim the next knockout. And lastly, Cryogonal didn't stand a chance. This thing always seemed to be like a regional Spiritomb to me, which makes its lacking battle qualities all the more disappointing. On the other hand, N is seizing his dreams in a way that's nowhere near disappointing. Pretty seamless segue, huh? Before heading on to the final gym, we need to stop Team Plasma from raiding Dragon Spiral Tower. This could have been your home goal, but we were far too late. N has already tamed the legendary embodiment of Ideals, and beckons me to challenge him at the Pokemon League. He's multiple steps ahead of me at this point, and my team is not Zekrom. It's a great thing we're not battling him here, but I'm questioning how much more the team can improve by the next time we see N. Now, even though Opelucid City is only a couple battles and an oddly long bridge away, when we get there, we won't be able to encounter the final Dream World Pokemon just yet. While I could still go to bed for the night, or any time of the day really, the only location left is locked behind the acquisition of the final gym badge. We'll have to hold off for now and challenge Drayden with the current team. It's not too bad though. Hope has Blizzard, Figment has Ice Fang, and Desire even has Hidden Power Dragon. But given Drayden's affinity to Dragon Dance and the negative priority Dragon Tail, Goal has everything she needs to sweep. The Fracture was actually just a guaranteed knockout. Thanks to the Dragon Scale and a solid 100 EVs in her special attack stat, even Dragon Breath was completely safe. Drotagon is a guaranteed 2-hit on the other hand, but he doesn't use Dragon Tail, probably due to some weird AI quirk. Anyways, he gets taken out, and Haxorus does the exact thing I predicted. He sets up Dragon Dance to make sure that Dragon Tail is strong enough to kill Gol, but after our Dragon Breath puts them in the yellow, they lock in the minus priority move and get taken out before it can land. You know what? I take back my complaining. You did so good, Gol! Now we can get the final encounter of the run, and this one is from the Sparkling Sea Dream World. And now that we're here at the end game, even Pokemon that need 10,000 points to spawn will be available. This includes Dratini, which could be cool, but it wouldn't be a Dragonite in time for the league. Or Ghetsis. There are also mons like Corsola and Love Disc that are potential encounters, so I'm just gonna not get my hopes up. I lied, guys, I got my hopes up. You know what? I'm sorry. I've got thousands upon thousands of hours in these games. Like, by this point, I should be able to make Corsola work, right? Carnivine, on the other hand, no. Besides, by this point, the Dream World has given us more than just an infinite amount of citrus berries to eat. With 1,000 Dream Points, a select few held items enter our bag, including things like the Metronome and Leftovers. I really like Leftovers. But we will be losing if I'm not incredibly careful during the league fights. I think this may be one of the least qualified Elite Four teams I've ever had on paper, but after a little bit of planning, I've come around and think that we should be able to get by, even if only barely. Grimsley's Dark types are some of the few that I have reliable coverage for. Not exactly because they're Dark types, but more so because of their secondary typings. Gol's Fly, for example, is a rather clean 2-shot on Scrafty. There was a chance of her missing, but only in theory because it remains to be seen. And that was actually the only real bit of RNG we had to deal with. The rest of these matchups are just a matter of rock, paper, scissors. Hope rocks Krookodile, Figment papers Bisharp, and then I'm not gonna finish that one. The other fights have a little more RNG to play around, but overall we should be good. Aspire is our lead for Marshall, and this isn't actually that safe of a start. Throw has Payback, which does super effective damage if he goes second. It's not even a revenge situation. I could set up Reflect and it would still do double damage. But instead of using that, Marshall goes for the speed control. Now we're slower and Payback will do normal damage. So that's fine by me. Because they led with Bulldoze, Aspire has taken minimal damage and is free to take on Mienshao head on. He even brushes off the boosted Retaliate. Man, we've come a long way. Psychics then proceed to waste Marshall's 2 full restores, which is great in its own right, but it also opens us up to resetting the Reflect. Mienshao has access to U-Turn, but doesn't use it for some reason, so they get taken out and bring in Sock. This mixed martial arts maniac fares really no better than anyone else, which brings us to Conkeldurr, as the second Reflect ends. This whole time we've been Leftovers maxing, and that's going to continue for as long as possible. That very healing has maintained Aspire's health in this fight, but things are very iffy against this guy. Figment offers some support while dodging a Stone Edge to start. That's huge because after he uses Yawn, he appears to be dead to a crit. Well, all of my team is in a way, but the most consistent and quickest way to knock out Conkeldurr is to go back to Aspire. As predicted, he absorbs a Hammer Arm, and this is where things begin to fall apart. Aspire sets Reflect. That, along with Leftovers recovery, means that we always survive a non-crit even at this health. But I wasn't thinking. We would have been able to land 2 Psychics for free since they had only just fallen asleep at the end of the previous turn. The first Psychic manages to do over half, but we get punished in the only way possible. Honk wakes up on turn 2, and his Stone Edge crits. Without any sweepers, this team is built to be passive and to play into our bulk, but I had the opportunity to remain on the offensive and didn't take it. Aspire is no longer able to support the team in the way that only he can, and really, the timing is as bad as could be. You see, Aspire was my intended lead for Caitlyn. He was specially bulky and could have set up a Light Clay extended light screen. Instead, I have to lead with Desire now, and while she for some reason doesn't get screens, she should be able to handle Reuniclus with Struggle Bug. Okay, Plan C. Turn 1 crit is an insane problem. Desire was the only one remaining who had consistent super effective damage in Bug Bite. I didn't lead with that move because I needed to weaken this college graduate Zygote first, and Figment isn't much of an option with Crunch because I forgot to heal him. Losing Aspire really shook me, I guess. It's not the best strategy, but Protect Leftover Surf is all Hope really has. I would have preferred that she kept more of her health as a result, but it could be worse. I think With Sigilif out threatening Air Slash, it's time to finally use Fantasy. In hindsight, I really should have equipped her with Power Gem, but between Leftovers, Recover, and our max HP and special defense EVs, she can kinda win this back and forth eventually. She's at least more likely than Carnivine. Fantasy's special defense does get dropped, but an Ancient Power boost immediately brings it back. This goes on for a long while thanks to Caitlyn's full restores, so by the time we finally knock them out, Fantasy only has one Ancient Power left to deal with Gothitelle. I figure I might as well save it, because even at +1, it probably won't do much. Oh, and also they have Thunderbolt. So even in this less than ideal positioning, I protect Stall one last time. But we've got a huge problem. Gothitelle didn't see the Thunderbolt kill, which is why she set up Calm Mind instead. Figment is the one Mon without Leftovers right now, and I'm kind of regretting that, but he is at least immune to Thunderbolt and can tag in for free. Gothitelle is barely faster and continues to up the ante, which is really bad because Crunch low rolls and does under 50%. But we also get the defense drop. Okay. I had to bust out the damage calculator to see if we had any other outs, but really Figment is still my best option from this position. And that really sucks because the only reason he's my best bet is that he lives Psychic 1/3 of the time. There's a chance Caitlyn sees that and uses Calm Mind again, and I'm kinda betting it all on that. But tragically, Gothitelle fires off the Psychic after all. And low rolls! Thanks to the defense drop, another Crunch does it, which leaves us with Musharna. I bring back Hope to deal with the most damage to her, but even with Leftovers and Mega Drain, Musharna just does too much. Man, why didn't they give Ludicolo Giga Drain? I don't have many options left here, which leaves me with Goal. She has no investment in attack or special attack, so it might be a gamble, but Dragon Breath and Defly should be just enough to take them out. Or not. Caitlyn has one last full restore, but if nothing else, Goal is bulky, and clutches up the Dragon Breath para. These secondary effects sure happen a lot when the battles go on for numerous turns. Funny how that works. Now, I'm not joking. While Goal also got paralyzed from Musharna's Synchronize, he gets fully parried like once or twice. Musharna, on the other hand, gets parried over and over, and when they don't, we protect Stall most of the time. Leftovers and Goal saves the day yet again, and Goal easily outlives the final Mon. It's crazy how much easier that would have been with Aspire. On the bright side, Chantel's battle plays out exactly how it was supposed to. Fantasy leads with a Toxic while trading a burn with Kofagrigus. I was hoping they'd miss, or rather attack, but on paper we still have the recovery to survive and stall. And more importantly, Fantasy sets up Stealth Rocks. That's her exclusive dream move, but after a few turns, she gets a little lower than I had hoped, so I switched to Hope on the full restore heal. It's a little iffy as Surf does just under half, to them, but Hope follows it up with a crit. I don't really think we needed that, but I'll take it. Hope dodges a Fire Blast crit from Chandelure to retaliate with a Surf that only reliably kills after the Stealth Rocks. We have Mega Drain for Jellicent, which gets a little annoying with Cursed Body, but we undo that deterrent with some pivots and win anyways. And then finally, the Golurk is just drowned. Yay! Those last two fights really should have been this easy as well. If only I was a little more aggressive. But to be honest, before I planned out this gauntlet, I did think it was gonna end up worse, so this isn't all bad. At least I still have a full team of 6. We're also able to rebuild the team somewhat because N stuck true to his word. He conquered the current champion and has enabled Team Plasma to take over the league. His dream will imminently snuff out ours if we don't do something, and even then, I'm not so sure. I've gotten everyone to the level cap of 52 ready to do their best, so now it's time to see if we're running with the dream team or if victory is just a pipe dream. If I were to be Nuzlocking white version, N would be leading with Reshiram, and Fantasy would hardwall them. Unfortunately, I didn't really want anything to do with a white dream run, so Fantasy has to get out of there. However, I did lead with her on purpose. Even if we didn't lead with a water type, Zekrom always leads with Fusion Bolt, as far as I'm aware. Figment enters as if I did lead with him, and in the process of stalling out their light screen, after a few turns, Earthquake gets the kill while Figment takes minimal damage. Vanillix opens up the opportunity for Fantasy to return as she resists all of their moves. Taking out Vanillix with Ancient Power is beyond tempting, but I stick to the plan and simply set up Stealth Rocks before switching to Desire, who tanks their ice moves even better. Their light screen is long gone by now, so while burning up a full restore, the snow cones get snow gones. That alliteration worked better in writing. As far as I'm aware, Klinklang doesn't typically know Flamethrower, so I switched to Goal. Surprise, surprise, that's actually Zoroark, and even though their first Night Slash lands a crit, between Fly and Protect compounding our leftovers recovery, they just couldn't break through. Caracosta is next, and now that Stealth Rocks have broken his 30, you know what that means? Yes sir, it's the Recession, baby, let's go! Somehow Illusion actually got a good matchup here, and I did not think that was possible. While the real Klinklang doesn't know Flamethrower, it's still in my best interest to switch to Figment. All they do is lower our special defense, because Earthquake didn't get the low roll. Well, actually it might have, I'm pretty sure Stealth Rocks guaranteed that knockout. Last is Archeops, and sadly said Stealth Rocks don't put them in the featest range. But hey, Superpower definitely does. Due to our resulting defense drop, I didn't want to risk a crit and switch back to Fantasy. Acrobatics is predictably ineffective, but then they crit after all with Stone Edge. Yeesh. Though Fantasy was already guaranteed to survive after Defeatist. Thank goodness Acrobatics didn't crit. So, N is defeated, and everyone gets to live to see another day. N and I went band for band with our dreams, and in the 11th hour, he wasn't able to snuff us out. That doesn't necessarily mean that his dream was wrong though. While we had different goals, there are ways that they could coexist. Sometimes you just need a little compromise. But unfortunately, it's only the 11th hour, not the final hour. In a perfect world, we would all just go home from here, but instead, there's still one last hurdle standing in our way. Ghetsis. His dream is actively antithetical to most others, as he simply wants to rule the world himself. He's manipulated and misguided N into thinking that only one way of living is correct, and now that we're the ones standing in his way, Ghetsis is taking matters into his own hands. These two battles are back to back, and Ghetsis was the reason I led with Fantasy to begin with. She's got Toxic Tech to easily take out his lead Cofagrigus, who also has Toxic. Fantasy is holding the Lumberry to cancel out their Toxic, so after Protect stalling and getting some slight damage with Ancient Power, ideally it would be enough to knock them out before Ghetsis heals. Unfortunately, that's not quite the case, and our Toxic missed on the same turn. On the bright side, he only landed Toxic a couple turns after we did, so with the help of Regenerator, we can pivot Fantasy out of there to heal and reset the Toxic damage. I probably could have led with Desire to begin with, as being immune to Toxic is really great, but I really wanted to keep her healthy. Anyways, Ghetsis proceeds to outplay me from here, because upon Fantasy's return, he gets a double Protect. Alright, time to pivot again. This time it's with Goal, so Fantasy can return on a baited Toxic, which does nothing. But our situation doesn't really improve. I should have predicted them protecting and gone with Stealth Rocks, but I'm running and gunning, and I need to poison our opponent again. So in the spirit of preserving the others, Fantasy remains in the game to finally land one last Toxic before succumbing to her own poison. Desire tags in and finishes off the Kaffa as she probably should have to begin with, but one of the major reasons why I didn't want her getting the knockout is shoved in our face frame 1. Desire immediately baits Ghetsis' strongest and most threatening Pokemon, Hydreigon. I have no one who could reliably eat a Fire Blast, so in this position, my safest bet is to hope that they miss and lower their special attack with a Struggle Bug. Unfortunately, we quickly enter a different kind of struggle. Hope is the only one who can possibly survive 2 hits from this thing and reply to said damage with a knockout. We had to remove Nature Power for this, and without access to Ice Beam until post-game, we are betting everything on Blizzard. But Hope doesn't land it. She survives their second hit, and manages to land Blizzard after all, but without a crit or freeze, we can only hope that Ghetsis decides to heal again, or misses. But I guess he's only healing the one time, because this is where my hope died. Not a great position to be in, mentally and physically. This team wasn't built to be in this scenario by any means, but if anything, Figment is kind of bulky. I would like to eliminate Hydreigon as soon as possible, but it's in our best interest to actually put them to sleep with Yawn instead. Surf always does over half even without a crit, but by yawning and protecting before taking out the handless Heathen, Figment gets a couple extra turns of leftovers healing. While Superpower does lower both our physical stats, that's mostly fine because I don't plan on leaving my Hippo in there anyways. And you might be thinking that it'd be the perfect time to get Illusion on the field now, but as Ghetsis has 4 total Pokemon remaining, I actually need to set up Goal. She's immune to Earthquake, resists Muddy Water, and is only threatened by Sludge Wave. Fly Protect the leftovers go crazy together, so we should be able to stall out this thing while setting up Cotton Guard. Each use of Cotton Guard raises Gull's defense by 3 stages, so we really only have to use it twice. All things considered, we should be able to wall out the remaining Pokemon, especially after taking out Seismitoad. The only thing that could really get in our way is if we get poisoned. It's not entirely unlikely, but with how infrequently they could actually hit us with that move, the odds are in our favor. Although, considering how the run started off and where we're at now, I think our luck has entirely run out. Gull eventually does get poisoned, and said status does a little more damage than the leftovers can heal. This could very well be the end. Given Gull's speed tier, I figured it'd be better to preserve her just in case, rather than doing maybe 20% more damage to Seismitoad. So I switched to Illusion after all, who gets poisoned turn 1 by the way. What the heck? His Citrus Berry just barely manages to keep him alive, and get his second kill of the run with Grass Knot. But sadly, it will be his last, as the poison immediately consumes him. Both Figment and Bouffalant enter the field at the same time. Head Smash does insane damage to us, but just like before, we're running the Yawn and Protect strat. It's really all we have at this point. Once we can go on the offensive, instead of lowering Figment's stats with Superpower, we fire off Earthquake, which is strong enough to take them out in 2 hits. Thankfully they stayed asleep for a second turn, so we take no additional damage. Sickeningly, Electros is immune to our super effective move, so after using Yawn again, we have to run Superpower. In the meantime, we do get risk getting burned by Flamethrower, which would undoubtedly mean the end of the run, but it turns out we have just a little bit of luck left. A little bit of hope. Figment's first Superpower leaves them in the green. Not the end of the world, but our resulting stat debuffs might ruin everything. Electros remains asleep as our second Superpower leaves them in the yellow. Okay, even at -2 attack and defense, another Superpower should do it. But I'm almost certain Getsus has more healing items. He may not have used one on Hydreigon earlier, but he could use it here. If a full restore is used, we won't have enough superpowers left to make up for it. But it's not like I have any other options anymore. Figment stays in, and they wake up. Electros uses Crunch, but even with -2 defense, we handily survive in the yellow. Superpower 3 is just strong enough to take them out, and Getsus is down to one last Pokemon. Figment is too worn out from the previous matchups to win here, so unfortunately, we'll also be going down to one last Mon. Gull put way more work in this run than I ever anticipated, and helped the run get to where it is today, in life and in death. Figment returns, rejuvenated and ready. Even considering crits, he's completely safe to do what he does best one last time. Bisharp gets drowsy, Figment blocks any and all incoming attacks with Protect, heals a little bit back with leftovers, and ends this fight. One final quad-effective superpower for the road, and we've just barely managed to beat Getsus, as well as the entire game. That was way too close. I almost had to reveal that it was all a dream. Dude, I don't think most of these Pokemon were meant to even see the Elite Four. I'm still pretty devastated that almost none of the team got to see the credits, especially Hope of all Pokemon, but that's just how it goes sometimes. But anyways, that's all I've got for you today. If you liked the video, then be sure to do all that YouTube stuff you've probably heard a million times by now. But if I had to pick one, I would really appreciate a hype. From what I could tell, those things matter most. It's crazy how it's exclusive to mobile. Ah well, thanks for watching everybody, especially if you're still here at the end. I'll see you guys next time, and have a good one.